So the different data roles. I mean, there is a data engineer, there's also database administrator, there's data analyst, there's data scientist. Now let's look at these one by one. So a data engineer, for instance, the primary role of a data engineer is to build pipelines and infrastructure to transfer your data and keep the data up to date. So for instance, if we're looking at a company like Amazon, a company like Amazon, now primarily Amazon is out. Well, Amazon, the retail arm of Amazon. I'm not talking about Amazon Web Service now. So the retail arm of Amazon primarily they're there to sell things to us online. Now, at the back end of that, Amazon has what we would call their application database, which is where your information and my information is stored, where things like product information is stored, what is the cost of this, and what is your address and things like that. Now, on the back of that, you also have the reporting layer, which is a reporting database where they'll be able to run reports like how much did we make last year? How many PlayStation 5s did we sell last year? How many iPhones did we sell in India, for instance? Or how many, I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, so, but typically they would not report off of their live databases. So they would need the data to be transferred from the source system, which is the system that does the processing of the payments and has all that information. And they would need to move it to a reporting database where that would be open to Amazon employees in the data space for them to run reports. And the reason for that is because, well, you want to avoid things like the database being locked. You want to avoid things like the database going corrupt. So a data engineer for Amazon in that instance will be responsible for building that pipeline that enables the data to be transferred from the source to the destination. And they would use tools like Fivetran, use SQL, they use Scala, they would use Python. And again, they're trying to make sure that the data is up to date. They're trying to make sure the data doesn't get corrupt. They're trying to make sure that the data gets refreshed. Now, yes, between that, there's another handshake between data engineer and the database administrator. Now, I mean, it's pretty much what a database administrator does is they set up the database, they maintain it, and they secure it. So, I mean, they also do backups. They also, I mean, create views, and we'll talk about that again later on. Um, so when the data engineer wants to transfer this data, data engineer doesn't necessarily have to be the one to create that database. They'll have conversations with the database administrator, and the administrator would create the database based on the reporting needs of the stakeholders. Again, they would use tools like Postgres, depending on what their database is, SQL, C, and VB. Now, I've put the average salary here, but we'll kind of have a closer look at the salary later on. Um, and then into my favorite part of this, I mean, data analyst. Now, I'm biased because I mean, for most of my career, I've either been a data analyst or a data analytics manager or somebody that manages managers within the data analytics space. So primarily, data analysts interrogates the data. And the reason why they do that is they want to deliver insights. So, I mean, they want to be able to tell the business what exactly your data is saying. They want to be able to tell the business if there are certain trends. They want to be able to point the business to different areas of opportunities. So again, one of the things that a data analyst might do is build a dashboard that runs monthly that shows total sales for a company, or in another instance, build a dashboard or do data reconciliation. I mean, one of my favorite things to do is data reconciliation. And that's pretty much saying that if there's a handshake between one process and the other, can we make sure that there are no gaps? So for instance, if I have a company where I have engineers that I send out, right? So I have engineers, they submit their timesheet to me, and then I build a company. One of the reconciliations that I might do, and again, this is something I've done in one of my roles, is try to reconcile the number of hours from the timesheet submitted versus how much we were paid. Interestingly, this analysis kind of led to us recovering about $500,000 because, again, there were some discrepancies. So, I think one of the most important things for a data professional is adding value. And I think if you look close enough, definitely you will find value and you find ways to add value. Some of the tools that a data analyst might use, they use Python or they use SQL Server Management System to interrogate the databases. And once they've done that and summarized the data, they can publish their insights either in Excel or Power BI or Tableau, depending on what tools they use for visualization. And we're going to have a quick look and see if there's any questions. I mean, feel free to ask questions as I go. There's also a dedicated question and answers section, but I mean, as the questions come, please ask and I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. Okay, so now let's go to data scientist. So a data scientist, this is a bit more advanced than the other roles, because it requires knowledge of advanced statistical methods and predictive modeling. And I mean, so the reason why is pretty much a data scientist would build models, the different kind of models, the predictive models, and I'll use the example of a bank. So a bank, you approach a bank that you want to borrow some money, and some of the things that the bank would do is they want to be responsible lenders, but they also want to ensure that you can afford to pay them back because they don't want to lose money. So the bank would ask you a few questions and pull some of your data. So they'll ask you questions like how much do you make? What is your current debt exposure? But additional data that they're pulling back from credit agencies would be things like, do you have any defaults? Where do you live? What is the disposable income in your area? And what they do with that information is they run a model, right? And the model says that, is this person likely to pay? So they use historical data to look at people that they've dealt with in the past. They look at who paid, who didn't pay, and look at some of the key attributes and say, well, these factors are significant, and they build it into a model that they use to make that decision. Another thing that a data scientist could do is also look at customer behavior, so customer shopping patterns. So, for instance, people that buy diapers would buy baby food. People that buy diapers would buy blackout curtains. So, I mean, some of you, when you shop on Amazon, actually, it's all of us. When you shop on Amazon, you kind of, in some instances, you get pop-ups or you get messages at the bottom saying that people that bought this also bought that. Again, that is so data science at work. Um, so let's have a closer look at how much these people make. Okay, so I pulled this data from Glassdoor. This is 2025 data looking at salaries across the US. So obviously, these salaries are dependent on location and also dependent on experience. So that's why we have an upper limit and you have a lower limit and you have a median. So if we take a data business analyst, for instance, their median salary is 104,000. The higher limit is 131K and the lower limit is 84. Now, if we look at a data scientist, significantly higher. So the median is 150K. The low is 119, the high is 193. Now, if you look at my favorite, the median is 91, the high is 118, and the low is 70. Now, these vary because of the skill and effort required. Now, I say effort lightly because in some instances, I mean, depending on the organization, these roles sometimes overlap. So you're hired as a data analyst, but again, you're doing some data engineering, you're doing some DBA work. You're hired as a data analyst, and in some instances, you're running or optimizing models. So again, it depends on the organization. Typically, I find that, or I've found that a lot of small organizations have these overlaps. So again, one of the things that we do at Knowledge Escalators is to make sure that you're equipped with all the necessary skills or most of the skills required to do these jobs comfortably without any challenges. Different about us and what makes us stand out. So first of all, key thing for us is integrity. I mean, at the start, we have an open and honest conversation with you to say, well, I mean, you saw that list that I showed that, well, you need, I mean, this is the kind of person or this kind of hats you need to wear to excel in this role. So we have that conversation. We do an assessment to say, where are you in that journey? And based on that, we make a recommendation of whether we think this role or this career path is best for you. If it is not, we tell you why, and we tell you areas where you think that we you can improve on, and then we can have another conversation in future. Another thing that I mean we deliberately did is limit the class size. So our class size is a maximum of 5, and the reason for that is we want optimal interaction. We want our instructors or we want our candidates to have full access to our instructors. We don't want anyone to feel left out. Now, talking about our delivery method is 100% instructor led. So we don't have any videos to say, oh, go watch this as part of your learning. No. I mean, yes, we would record the sessions and you can always go back to it, but primarily our delivery method is instructor led. So you have an instructor, just the way I am, sharing his screen, demonstrating how to write SQL, and then give you the opportunity to try it out. And anyone that has a question can always ask. Um, Skilled and experienced instructors. Again, I mean, I have another slide where I'll show you the team and also everyone's experience. But ultimately, I think we've been in this space. I think each person has been in this space for over 10 years. And been in various positions, starting from analysts to managers to some of us being head of departments or head of analytics in different companies. So we're well equipped to support you. We're well equipped to answer your questions. We're well equipped to provide the necessary support that you need to succeed. Last but not the least is the final bit. So once you're done with this training, um, we support you with resume writing, and we also support you with interview preparation and navigating some of the on-the-job challenges. Because again, I think that those are also critical. I mean, we don't succeed until you succeed is the way we see it.